I want to deal with something that I've touched on before, but I won't sleep at night if I don't disgorge it, if I don't get it off my chest today. And that's what's happening in Sub-Saharan Africa. The Western world is watching with a kind of cynical Olympian detachment as so much of the continent is faced with famine and drought, famine induced by the drought. Some 60 million Africans living in Sub-Saharan Africa, from the northeast in Ethiopia right down to the south in South Africa, are right on the brink of starvation. It is a monumental tragedy in the making, and the world seems not to be exercised about it. I just don't get it. In South Africa, for example, this is the worst drought they've had in a generation, and the government has declared 5 provinces to be disaster areas. In the little country of Lesotho, tucked into South Africa, they're receiving the same kind of crisis. They've got 80% of the population who are farmers, and they've nothing to farm. There's no agricultural productivity because the land is all in drought. 1 out of every 3 Basotho, that's what they're called in Lesotho, the population of Basothos, 1 out of 3 is hungry. And 1 out of 4 is living with HIV and AIDS. You can imagine the consequences. In Burundi, which has been in conflict for almost a year over a bogus presidential election, Burundi was already considered by the Global Hunger Index as one of the hungriest countries in the world. You can only imagine the situation now. It verges on catastrophe. And then there's Zimbabwe, which has been in a very critical situation around drought and famine for some time. But now the dam, which provides the power for much of Zimbabwe and the adjacent country of Zambia, is operating at 12% efficiency because of the absence of rainfall. And if you think I'm being excessive when I talk about cynical negligence, just think of South Sudan, a population of 12 million, fully half the population, primarily women and children, on the verge of starvation. So frantic have UNICEF and the World Food Programme become that they asked for $1.3 billion from the international community in order to rescue those lives. And they have received, as of this taping, 2% of what they've asked for. These calamities pile up one atop the other. Why is it always Africa? Why are Africans expendable? Why don't we have a Black Lives Matter for the African continent? It's an impossible scar on the international system. That was last week. I'm Stephen Lewis.